Why does it feel like we're always falling behind? Or like we're failing more often than anyone else? Before we get into it, I want to quickly define what I mean by success and failure in this video. Whenever I say success, I mean a rare, highly positive outcome, like making good money, gaining recognition, or building a career. And failure is just the opposite. It's a subjective definition, so it reflects how things feel and not how they actually are. And by this logic, if not becoming a millionaire in your 20s feels like a failure to you, we'll go with that. So it's a normal day, you're scrolling through your social media feed again, and it feels like everyone around you is making it. Your friends just announced that they learned Spanish. A shy girl from your school who used to upload song covers is now releasing her own album, and she's younger than you. Other people are publishing books, winning competitions, traveling the world, getting a new car, moving to a new city, and all of that while you're just scrolling through their stories and living your usual life in the meantime. Or maybe you did try something, like a project or a business idea, but quickly realized the payoff wasn't as big as you expected. And I bet we already know that, in reality, extreme success is rare, and most outcomes are far more ordinary than those stories we keep seeing online. On YouTube, about 94% of channels never reach 10,000 subscribers. Around 90% of startups fail. Nearly 90% of artists on Spotify have fewer than 50 listeners per month. Even though we know that big success is rare, why do we feel so bad for not achieving it? And if failure is so common, why does it feel like success is everywhere? Well, let's start by acknowledging that there is no all-powerful person who's brilliant at everything at once. Sure, there might be some extremely rare outliers who have many impressive skills and talents. But in reality, when we look around, we see millions of different people who usually excel at just one thing. Yet we might still fall into the trap of comparing our painting skills to professional artists, our 5K times to athletes, and our careers to exceptional entrepreneurs, as if burdening ourselves with the absurd expectation of matching everyone at once. Just think about it, we all have the same 24 hours in a day, and from that time we still need to work, rest, and take care of basic needs. What's left is what we actually can spend on hobbies or learning. As David Allen famously said, you can do anything, but not everything. You want to become a great artist? Then you'll need to spend most of your time painting. Do you also want to run a marathon, learn Chinese, read 12 books a year, and excel in your career on top of that? Well, then you've got some serious choices to make. So in most cases, each person ends up focusing on one or a few specific areas to grow in. Now let's take a closer look at our information environment and how accurately it reflects reality. Imagine that you're a publisher and you're looking for the next person to write a biography about. So naturally, you're looking for someone whose story will captivate as many people as possible. Then you meet two people. One is an 18-year-old college dropout who started their own business and became a millionaire just in 1 week. The other is a 70-year-old man who has worked hard his entire life and built a successful family business. If they both wrote a book, whose story do you think would become popular? It's a well-known fact that we're drawn to extremes. The rarer, the more extreme, the more unusual something is, the more we want to hear about it. This shapes which stories we remember and which stories we choose to share with others. That's why you're more likely to hear your friend telling you extreme stories from their social circle. Then there's a psychological effect called availability heuristic. It makes us believe that the events we remember most vividly happen much more often than they actually do. For example, if you look at the statistics, planes are much safer than cars. Even in everyday life, we probably often hear about car accidents from people we know or even see them occasionally on our way to work. Yet, it takes just 1 or 2 plane crash stories in the media to make us feel nervous or even terrified to fly. These vivid examples distort our sense of probability. And when we constantly see stories about millionaires, beauty queens, and scientific geniuses, it starts to feel like they're everywhere. And of course, modern social media algorithms quickly learn what we react to and show us even more of it. Then there is another side to this. It's not just about what we see, but it's also about what we don't see. Let's use YouTube as an example. So after scrolling through your YouTube feed full of popular creators, you might think, hey, this looks fun and easy. I could probably do it too, but again, there's something missing here. It makes the picture of reality distorted. It's called survivorship bias. Survivorship bias is what happens when we only see the cases that made it through and completely miss all the ones that didn't. Yes, you might have seen new channels that gained traction very quickly, but here's the thing. If they hadn't become popular, you wouldn't be seeing them in your feed. As statistics show, for every successful channel, there are hundreds, maybe thousands of invisible or abandoned ones that didn't make it. You can actually test this yourself. Just switch the video sorting to recently uploaded on YouTube, and suddenly it doesn't look that impressive anymore. You start seeing videos with 100 views, 10 views, sometimes even 0.
This effect appears in many areas. We're less likely to see or hear about ordinary outcomes or failures because they often go unreported. If social media was representative, we would have to sift through many uneventful cases before finding a standout success story.
Now here's a very concrete example. This very channel you're watching right now. I started it 3 months ago and it has 21 subscribers. Now imagine we jump 1 year into the future. Most likely this channel won't grow much, and I might stop posting due to a lack of motivation. So it's most likely that you won't ever find this video. But if you do see it a year from now, it's probably because the channel did succeed. Maybe it got lucky and gained traction quickly, or maybe it was the result of consistent work and slow growth. Either way, it got views. It survived, and that's the only version of this story you will ever get to see. As if the effects of media focusing on extremes, the availability bias, and survivorship bias weren't enough, there's yet another layer to it. According to social comparison theory, to form our sense of self-worth, we look around and see how we're doing relative to other people. There are different directions in which we compare ourselves. Downward, where we compare ourselves to those we think are doing worse than us. Lateral, to those who are similar to us. And upward, to those we think are doing better. We use all of these comparisons, often without even realizing it. But as psychologists have found, we tend to compare ourselves upward, to people who are doing better than us, especially when it comes to things like success, money, or status. Roughly speaking, imagine that becoming financially successful is very important to you. You have 10 friends. 7 of them are less financially stable than you. 2 of them are about the same, and 1 is doing slightly better. Guess who occupies your thoughts when you evaluate how well you're doing in life? Right, we naturally focus on those who are closer to where we want to be. It can be helpful as it pushes us to improve and move forward. Yet, in many cases, this kind of comparison can work against us. Research on social media shows that the more we compare ourselves to others, the worse we tend to feel about ourselves. And instead of feeling inspired, we are more likely to feel discouraged, especially if we already struggle with self-esteem.
And if you think about it, this wasn't always the case.
Before social media, we mostly compared ourselves to the people around us, colleagues, classmates, family, friends, and those people usually share a similar environment and social context, so the comparison stayed relatively grounded. And now, with a single click, we get a glimpse into the lives of the richest, the smartest, the most talented, the luckiest people on the planet. And we compare ourselves to them regardless of our own background or circumstances. If you find yourself in these examples, I can empathize with you. Struggles with self-esteem are tough, and you're definitely not alone in this. There are well-known ways to deal with it, like limiting social media use, practicing mindfulness, reaching out to a therapist if you feel like you need it, and so on. But I believe that the first step is to learn to see things more realistically.
Understanding the biases we've discussed helps us see our situation more objectively, instead of catastrophizing and assuming everyone else is doing better. No one excels at everything. We mostly see extremes. We don't see those who failed. We compare ourselves upward.
What I wanted to say with this video is that you're not failing. You're just human. Imperfect, not always lucky, sometimes vulnerable, sometimes lacking confidence, often getting caught in thoughts that make things seem worse than they really are. And still, being you is more than enough to find something meaningful and create something beautiful, step by step. If you enjoy the ideas explored in this video, you might also like the book Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. It inspired me a lot while making this video and the upcoming ones, especially around how our thinking can distort our perception of reality. Thank you for watching, and feel free to subscribe if you'd like to see more. In my next videos, I'll explore how people actually become successful, why it's okay to be normal, and how accepting that can make you a lot happier.